Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them. They never rent quality flicks. They always pick the most intellectually devoid movie on the racks.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Loose Cannon. I'm back again, Alex the producer, with Aaron Pollyea.
Hey, I'm Aaron.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going okay. It's going okay.
We have decided to do another sort of focus on exploitation films, only this time it's one is sort of blaxploitation and one is, I guess, traditional exploitation.
It's more traditional in
traditional, good old fashioned exploitation 70s movies.
But that one, well, we'll talk about the movies. I think it's a strange exploitation film in many ways, but we'll get into why.
We'll get into that. So what we're doing is this time is a focus on I guess strong women in 70s exploitation films.
Yes.
And the first one we're looking at here is TNT Jackson, also known in other parts of the world as Dynamite Wong and TNT Jackson.
Yes. And it was filmed in the Philippines, but it's supposed to take place in Hong Kong.
Yeah. I noticed that, for the longest time before we watched this movie, I thought this was a Pam Grier movie.
Yeah, if you don't look closely at the movie poster or anything like that, you're like, oh, here's this woman on the poster. She has a gun. She's sexy. Yeah. That's Pam Grier. But then you look, and you're like, no, it's not Pam Grier. Pam Grier doesn't look like that. You just assume it is because
if you're flipping through or scrolling through, you just assume.
Exactly, because it's a black woman in an action film from the 1970s, and you think Pam Grier. There are no others, but there were sure.
There were a few. It's just she was the queen.
Yes, exactly.
This obviously with the TNT and the title, it's going to try to evoke like some of the action kung fu films of the era, and that is sort of what it is. But this has a weird pacing to me when I was watching it. It's hard to describe, but it has a very odd feel, and it might be that a lot of it was, I think, overdubbed afterwards, and there was like a lot of sound staging and stuff put in after the fact, which is what happens a lot in East Asian films, especially from the time. So it gives it almost like a dreamlike feel, which was weird to me. I don't know. It might just be me, but it never really felt like I was there when I'm watching the scenes.
Huh. Okay. I agree about the pacing because there are action scenes that are fairly well done in this. I mean, and then there's other action scenes that just seem to stop or slow down into slow-mo for no real good reason, but it tends to like make the film feel like it's stuttering. And
it might be to try to fill that 72-minute runtime. This is clearly a drive-in double feature movie.
Oh, sure. And I think it doesn't help that the main bad guy played by Stan Shaw, his name's Charlie, isn't really a bad guy. He's just the enforcer for this drug dealer, right?
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
But he's not really the bad guy. He's interested in Diana, who TNT Jackson. He's interested in her, but also is told to like kill her. He just doesn't. He like finds out where she is, and you think he's suddenly back loyal to being loyal to the drug dealer. He finds her when she's hiding in one scene, and they just sort of talk, and so you never really know what to expect with any scene with both of them in it.
Yeah, and I guess the basic... Let's break down, what's the basic plot of this movie?
Okay, so TNT Jackson's brother is murdered in Hong Kong. And he's murdered during like a drug deal gone bad.
Yeah.
And she decides to come to Hong Kong to find his killer and get revenge.
Doesn't this sound like a little bit like Black Dynamite?
A little.
Or a little bit like, what was that one that we saw? Oh, the one with Jackie Chan and Danny Aiello, The Protector.
Oh God, yeah, that was a good one though.
Yeah,
That was really
true.
good.
Man, I got to go back and rewatch that again.
So I think what falls down right away in it before we even get further into the plot is Hong Kong is fairly iconic, even in the 1970s.
Yes.
Everyone knows
Well,
what it is.
it's especially like back then. Let's be honest, mainland China, there wasn't a whole lot of footage of it, and what there was, mainland China did not get rapidly uh, updated with new buildings and new technology until the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And so at this point in the 70s, Hong Kong was still a vibrant center of trade. They still had the British rule. They like people, when you thought of China, what you were actually seeing was Hong Kong pretty much every time that
Yes.
they tried to show it. So there were very, very iconic imagery dating back even like 30, 40 years before this movie was made.
Yes. And since you know in general, even in the back of your head, you kind of know what you're supposed to be seeing. The fact is that you don't see that here, and it helps take you out of the movie, because they even mention the fact that she's like hanging out in the what is it? How Long Walled City?
Yeah.
In this, the walled city, which is like the most densely packed part of humanity at the time, like more people per like square foot, let's put it that way, than anywhere else on Earth.
More than any quote unquote shanty town in South America or anywhere you think of,
where the city
like there's
streets,
entire there's documentaries on just how insane it is, to the point where it's the basis a lot of times in sci-fi movies when they try to show like Neo Tokyo or other parts of the world when it's like this dystopic future. It's almost always designed based on the influence of that actual city.
Yes, and it's the surface streets never see sunlight because the buildings are so packed so closely together that they are constantly in darkness, or they're leaning against each other at the top. But what we see here is wide open streets, well lit, very few people, and it really does take you out of it. Now she starts investigating where her, who did this to her brother, and she immediately gets jumped by a whole bunch of guys, and decides to fight them all off in a clearly very staged fight.
Well, and also before this, we get our first shot of random female nudity violence.
Oh yeah, God. I watched these with Darlene. Okay, both of these movies that we're going to talk about. And I constantly harp on the fact that I truly hate nudity and violence together. I think it does a disservice to the nudity because it links sex and violence. I just don't like that. I think it's a cheap way to like try to make people feel uncomfortable about a situation or show somebody as a bad guy. But then you look at, like, let's say the early Andy Sedaris films, and while he falls into this problem that now and then there's a woman topless and there's a little bit of violence, a lot of times whenever he's showing nudity, it's two adults enjoying each other or just having fun,
or two adult women saying, "We do our best thinking topless
in the jacuzzi." Yep. From Hard Ticket to Hawaii. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that is
it's more about the sensuality of it, or just empowerment.
Exactly. And where a lot of times in these sexploitation movies or blaxploitation movies, nudity is used in violence to show that these women don't have power. And that's where this movie specifically doesn't work well. Like almost every time there's nudity on screen, there's violence.
Yeah. There's parts where a nude fight scene or topless fight scene where the protagonist is winning, but it still feels odd.
Yeah, it feels odd because the way they filmed it, she turns off the lights in the room that she's in, and I think, you want it black, you got it. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
which
a good line.
still, I laughed at that.
Yeah, it's
That
a
was
good line. But she's wearing like black panties, and the way they
Yeah,
filmed it,
it looked like
it looked like she was wearing nothing.
yeah. I actually had to rewind to see if that was like a scene that might have been cut where they kept a couple frames by accident, and I'm like, oh no, she is technically wearing something.
Yes, now I mean there is full female nudity in this,
Yes,
so I mean, be warned. Be
I
warned.
mean you kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
With this movie.
So she hooks up with like a martial arts teacher and starts going up against this drug dealer, and the drug dealer has a girlfriend that turns out to be a part of the CIA.
Yeah,
It's needlessly complex, let's put it that way.
and the whole thing just it doesn't really add up. It feels very forced, but I do like how some of the fights are choreographed well, but every fight with TNT Jackson is not.
Yeah, and that's strange too, because she's clearly not a weak woman, right? Like
No,
she clearly has tone to her, her limbs. She clearly knows how to move, and she's actually a good actress. So I wonder what the hell why those scenes just weren't really that good.
I was almost thinking, did they, because of budget constraints, did they film their rehearsal and then just not film the final version with her?
Oh, I don't know.
Like was that supposed to be a dry run? We'll do this once and then we'll do the real one, and then they just didn't.
Yeah,
Because,
I could not tell you. There isn't a lot on this movie.
the
Written
fight,
out there.
the fight she has with the CIA agent, that her punches were even worse.
Yeah.
Did you see, like, she's punching half open fist limp into, like, I don't even know how you fight like that. It was like she's throwing her dead hand into other people.
Yeah, and I don't think the actress really knew how to fight. I think her name is Pat Anderson, the actress's name. And I'm looking up like what else she was in. I mean, a lot of 1970s
Summer school teachers, cover girl models. It's a lot of stuff that would show on Skinamax.
Yeah, the 1970s sexploitation films. Yeah, absolutely. And Janine Bell, who played TNT Jackson.
Sorry. It's all those sexploitation films and an episode of Jake and the Fat Man.
Okay.
Oh man.
But she, the person who played TNT Jackson, also pretty much these 1970s exploitation type films. I mean, she was even in an episode of Starsky and Hutch. Like
Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Kolchak,
I've seen that too. Policewoman. And wait, does she play herself in the Beverly Hillbillies?
Ooh, really?
She's in 4 episodes as Sugar Jean Bell.
Oh.
And her real name is Jean Bell.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Cleopatra Jones. She's in Cleopatra Jones. Now I've seen Cleopatra Jones.
And this is the first thing. And it looks like the Beverly Hillbillies is the first thing she was in.
Yeah, in 1970. Huh. Well, weird.
So strange. Okay. But sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I still enjoyed the movie.
TNT Jackson in an episode with Granny from Beverly Hillbillies. Sure.
I still enjoyed the movie, but yeah, it was weird. It didn't hold together as well as at least the other movie that we watched. But I think most Pam Grier films are generally better than this.
Oh yeah, and it probably helps that once Pam Grier's career started rolling, they started giving him better budgets, even though obviously still lower than a regular studio budget, but they knew what was going to make them money. Whereas this screams international release for the drive-in.
Yes. And did you know who helped write this movie? Did you see that?
Looking now.
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller, really?
Yeah. Dick Miller.
Okay.
We know him.
Yes, from everything.
From everything. Yeah, you know.
From and for anybody who maybe hasn't seen as many movies as we have, you've definitely seen him in Terminator. He's the guy that is the gun store clerk that
Yeah.
Arnold kills when he's like, "Hey, you can't load that in here." And he's like, "Wrong!" Shoots him in the face.
Yeah, phase plasma rifle in the 20-watt range.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't carry
Yeah.
that, pal. What you see is what you get.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's in Chopping Mall as well, by the way, which is another B movie that I adore.
He's one of the he's like one of the kings of the B movie, cameo.
Absolutely. So I mean,
I'm surprised he didn't show up here.
Yeah, I mean that is strange, but hey, I'll give the movie credit for being partly written by Dick Miller.
He must have been friends with somebody because
Roger Corman.
The rest. Okay, because the rest of the it's New World Pictures distributed it, but Premiere Productions.
It's a Roger Corman produced film.
I was going to say the production companies on this were all Filipino, so it must have been a deal that the production company had with Roger Corman to get some American actors and crew out there or something, or maybe a tit for tat, you film some of your movies in the Philippines and you hire some of our crew to make it.
Yes, I mean Roger Corman did a ton of movies in the Philippines, tons and tons and tons. So.
Probably a similar situation as Hong Kong because not stunt people you can hurt and they won't sue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and everything was cheap.
And everybody speaks English.
Yes, and you can get a hold of food that isn't super strange either for actors that might be very picky.
That's very true, right? Because in Hong Kong at the time, in Hong Kong you would have been able to get British food or British influenced food, but the main difference is even though Hong Kong had the British influence, not everybody that you hired was going to speak English. Where I think a lot of people still don't know that the Philippines, their official languages, they have their own Filipino language, but the main official language of business is English there.
Yeah, English. I mean,
and it's been like that for years.
It goes back to the Spanish-American War, and then World War II. Prior even to World War II, there was a huge American presence there, and obviously after World War II, there was as well. And so a lot of American culture got imported into the Philippines.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of call centers, they're actually based in the Philippines because just everybody just pretty much speaks English. It probably has the highest adoption, higher than you'd think, higher than even Japan and that for people that are fluent.
Huh.
So, but yeah, so it makes sense. Obviously, film there, dirt cheap, has locations that can look a lot like other places. Just maybe not as iconic as Hong Kong.
Yeah, not the walled city. That did not work.
But still, there's some. Like I said, some decent action, and then we have a crazy ending.
Sure,
that just sort of ends. So, it's basically they're taking down these drug dealers, and then we end up having a final showdown, and TNT Jackson does some crazy kung fu through the body punch that goes right through the body.
Yeah, I mean,
just out of it's boom, exploding palm fist thing.
Yes, absolutely. That was very strange, but it made me laugh.
Oh, it made, because then 3 seconds later the movie's over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just okay. Well, that's strange.
The bad guy, quote unquote, who's not really a bad guy, but bad guy, falls to the ground with a gaping hole in his body, and then the camera pans up, looks at her. The end.
Yeah, she's just I got my revenge on the drug dealer by snorting all the coke that this guy had, and I got super strength and punched straight through him. Yeah.
The end. No credits.
Yeah, the end. Weird movie. I mean, it has its moments. I'm not going to crap on it. I actually appreciated a lot of the acting in it, believe it or not.
This one's worth watching once. This is no Pam Grier movie where you're going to want to watch it a bunch of times with friends.
Yeah. I absolutely. I agree. I don't think I have anything else to say about that.
So let's move on to the more fun movie.
Oh wow, this one was, Darlene and I had a fun time with this movie.
We've got Bush, I'll tell you
Oh
that.
yeah, multiple scenes of full female nudity.
And that is for Too Hot to Handle, the 1977 exploitation film.
And see, we I would put exploitation in large quotes for a couple reasons.
This is a women empowerment revenge movie, but not really revenge because she's a assassin.
Yeah, yeah, and so she's hired, but the actress who plays Samantha Fox, who's the main character in this, is Sherry Cafaro.
Yeah.
Supposedly, she designed all of her costumes for this and did all of her own stunts. So anytime that you see her on screen showing any skin, which means everything at times, she chose to do that
Yeah.
to make a statement. And she was very open with her body, I guess, in other works. Like, she's not ashamed of showing skin if it made sense in the scene. And so you don't see her really being, unlike the other movie, you don't see her mixing her nudity with having violence done to her. She might be doing violence to someone else.
Or be setting up something.
Yes, or setting up something, but she is nude for her own reasons, which, while watching it with Darlene was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm watching this." But then, she came back and said, "Fine, oh, you're right. This was about her being comfortable in herself and showing strength through this."
Never once did she ever look on camera like she felt awkward.
Yeah, never, never ever.
And believe me, unless you're a really, really good director, you can tell when somebody's uncomfortable like that on camera. They're stiff, or they're clearly having body language. No, she seemed completely in her element.
Yeah, absolutely. And so she's like an assassin. She's been sent to this place. She's going to have to murder like 3 people. Who's the person that hired her? Like, what was their organization? Was it just some organized crime?
I don't. It was the guy. Okay, well, the one bad guy was something called Calderon,
Yeah. Okay.
and he was a. I don't remember the name of his group, but he was like a big importer exporter. But in reality, it was all done for drugs or something.
Sure. Yeah. And
As far as, and that there was one, I think, crime group hired her to kill his crime group. Is it a turf war or something?
Yeah, it is. It's a turf war, and I think she makes a point of saying that she only really kills people who deserve it.
Yeah, so she goes after a few individuals that aren't connected either, just I guess to set up who she is. I'm trying to think. The first person she kills, well, the first person she kills is the guy that she meets at the club, right?
Yeah.
And he brings her to his like sex dungeon.
Yeah, and he's not the one that's wanting to be like. He wants to be punished. He's the one that wants to be punished. He's not putting her in chains or anything like that.
He's showing her how to use whips and stuff, and it's odd.
Yeah,
it was odd, and I started laughing immediately when he's like, she's like, "Oh, I know what you want. This is the time." He's like, "No, it's to tie me up."
Yeah. Okay, all right, fair enough.
And then she ties him up, and then covers his head with a bag and suffocates him till he dies.
Yes.
And it's the most hilariously fake looking suffocation because the bag wasn't being sucked in around his face when he's breathing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't want him to really suffocate, right?
I know,
and
I know, but
it's
the
Philippines.
I know it was the Philippines, so I was kind of not hoping. I was kind of expecting to see something horrible happen.
Oh yeah, well,
like a stunt double dying or something.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, he's fully nude on that bed too, which I'm a little surprised we didn't see anything there.
Yeah,
but she also makes a point of not only killing people who deserve it, but also making it look like it was an accident.
Yeah,
that it wasn't murder. So having him suffocate in his own sex dungeon doesn't actually look that sinister. Like, okay, he hired a prostitute. He was tied up. He clearly likes this stuff, and I don't know. He had some asphyxiation. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay, it sounds bad, but he carried
Yeah, he
himself.
carried himself. So I mean, that's what it looks like. And then we have the detective. His name is like Dela Torres. He's kind of the foil for Samantha Fox in a lot of ways, and they flirt all the way through this movie.
Yeah, there's a certain amount, like, she doesn't want to get caught, but there's a certain amount of respect and eventual love, sort of, or what she's able to, how she's able to actually perceive love or open up as much as she can.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's love. It's more like mutual respect.
Yeah, respect, and like, she doesn't want to kill him,
Yeah,
but she will if she has to maintain her life and career.
and there's one scene that I thought was strange between them because she basically just explains to this detective right there everything she's done and all the crimes she's committed, and I'm thinking this guy could literally put her in handcuffs right now.
Yeah,
She couldn't do anything about it, and he would have solved this big crime that he's basically investigating. He's in charge of investigating, but he doesn't, and it leads to her being able to get away at the end.
yeah. This had some inventive, or, well, not inventive, but like better pacing when it came to some of the plot points than the last film we watched. This felt more like a traditional film, just on a shoestring budget.
Yes, I also liked
Uh,
the I liked the scene where they get jumped together, the detective and
oh yeah,
Samantha
yeah,
Fox, and she's the one that like kicks all the criminals' ass.
yeah.
And
And
he's
then
not really threatened by that either. He's just like, no, that hey, whatever.
they set him up to be, he's good guy cop. He's not a corrupt cop, because he even goes to warn some of her potential victims. And they're like, why are you talking? He's like, well, because eventually I'm going to get you in cuffs the right way.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's a cop. He doesn't want to have people murdered on his watch. So he's going to go and tell the people that are going to be murdered, "Hey, watch yourself. I'm putting guards out here." And like one of them totally blows him off. Thinks it's the funniest damn thing. But the other guy's like, "Okay, I appreciate you coming to me. I think I can take care of myself though."
Yeah, Calderon is the guy that brushes him off at first, and then she sets up. Well, she ends up going to an ambush at like a soccer field, and she ends up. Remember, she shoots at the ground to set them off to do a free fire fight against each other. Again, to make it look like, even though she was planning to kill them all, she makes it look like it's a gang hit between two gangs.
Yeah, which was very smart. Yeah, that was in a baseball field.
Baseball. That's right, baseball field.
Yeah, that was really
Uh,
cool. Then she murders Madame Rwanda, who's played by Corin Calvert, in a very strange, almost lesbian scene. Do you remember that?
oh, is that the one where she covers her in like spa material, and then like a mud mask, and then electrodes her?
Yes, that's the scene. But like to
And
get her
she
into that, she's like kissing on her neck.
yeah, and then makes her watch a video that Madame Rwanda made herself on how to torture people.
Yeah, but it wasn't about torturing. It was like a beauty treatment that it just hurt. It was like electrocuting
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, the difference was she just cranks it to the max and kills her. And those sparks look dangerous.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that was not like, they just put those electrodes on her and just hoped that it would spark away from her face.
Well, yeah, that was a good scene though. I thought that was a good scene. It was just weird because of the
The tones,
yeah, the tone that was
the
in it. I'm like,
undertones.
hey, you know what? I didn't expect to see this because Samantha Fox as a character seems to be into guys, and then suddenly she's just, because it's not really set up very clearly that this is her next hit.
Yeah,
So you're
like
thinking she's just going to this beauty place and suddenly hitting on this girl, and it's what? Wait a second.
Yeah. And then we have like going into the ending. I thought it had a cool ending.
Yeah, it did.
Like it was a very Mad Max sort of ending. If you've seen the original Mad Max, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Dumb question. It's just I know a lot of people have seen the Road Warrior, but not necessarily Mad Max.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. She ends up uh, uh, drugging the detective,
Mm-hmm. De La Torres.
and yes, yeah, that's right, De La Torres, and he wakes up to find himself tied. His leg tied and his one arm tied, and a note in front of him. She's placed a time bomb in the houseboat, and she's giving him just enough time for, if he's diligent and thorough as she knows him to be, he can probably get through the ropes and get off before it blows up, because she'd rather not see him dead, and she'd rather have him chasing her around the world, if there's going to be anybody chasing her.
Yeah. And do we know if he survives?
You see him running to the edge as he's ready to
Yep.
jump, and then she's looking down at the ocean because she sees the explosion from her plane.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know if he survived. You're left to believe he probably did.
Yeah, but you're not sure. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good ending though. It really was.
It had a proper ending instead of just, the end popping up on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I actually enjoyed this movie. This was good. Like, it's not great, but for like an exploitation film, it has an actual like powerful woman in it who chooses to show herself rather than is there to just be leered at by the camera, so to speak. Does that make sense?
And again, in the era before everybody's body had to be super fake, it's just a normal person.
Yeah.
Who's in shape, doing this. And at the same time, there is an abundance of full bush in this movie.
Yeah.
That might be the most off-putting for some people.
Yeah, and they don't hide it. It's
No, they don't hide it. They don't intend to hide it. There's some, it's not full on simulated sex scene, but there's a couple sex scenes where I'm like, wow, that this would have to be cut for most cable, because it's full bush with full nudity of everybody involved.
Yeah. No,
but it's tasteful enough to not like show anything. It's not like we're going to a silhouette of thrusting or anything, but it's two naked people in bed. And you could tell, like, okay, well, here's where you'd snip 30 seconds here to get it on cable.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, this one as well, I think this was 80 minutes long. Again, not quite a full length, but it's something that, if you went to a drive-in, it'd probably be a good double feature.
Yeah, 85.
Yeah, so I mean, this is one that it's on DVD. This has not had an HD release. I was doing some digging to try to find it, so I don't even believe it's streaming in HD. I think it's only in standard definition. I'd be interested to see how this would look if they cleaned it up, because it looks like it was filmed on decent film stock. It's just the DVDs that are available, every release has been sort of from an older print.
Yeah, and the version I had is on like a Shout Factory triple movie box set.
And that's the same print that they've released a couple times for it, in different packages. So yeah, it's decent. It's not like as damaged. The audio sounds fine, which is what my concern. When I started it up, I'm like, oh man, is the audio going to be crap? No, it sounded fine. It was mixed well. The acting is a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. I
So,
think
yeah.
all the actors in it did a pretty good job.
De La Torres has, like, even though this is 1977, he has got 1971 hair for sure. Like, he looks like he's like right out of like the Partridge Family haircut.
Yes, yeah, he does. He's the guy that played the Pharaoh in the 1999 Mummy film, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I clicked on him. Oh yeah, Pharaoh and Mummy Returns.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays the Pharaoh in the Bible mini. So he's sort of got he's also in American Ninja 5, Ishtar. Oh, there's a film I haven't heard of in a long time.
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah.
Ishtar and Xanadu. That's the highlight of your career, huh? But he was in Fiddler on the Roof. Okay, so Interesting. Yeah, I think this is pretty solid. I'm glad that you know, when you suggested, you're like, hey, I've got these sets. I was like, okay, these two, just based on the titles and the posters.
Sure. Yeah. I ended up buying a whole bunch of like Roger Corman B-movie box sets at one point. And yeah, this set, along with Firecracker, I think is the third movie in that set.
Yeah.
Um,
Which we'll eventually probably have to get to.
yeah. Because I mean, these are fun to watch at the very least.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely a product of their time. But I think each one of these movies had a little bit of a surprise for us in them, that it just wasn't exactly what we were expecting.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy with it overall. And I think that's pretty much all we can say on it. They're worth watching. If you can pick them up, depending on where you go, these sets might not be, new in stock of places, but like I looked at like local like used video stores. These are going to range in price anywhere from like $5 to $15
Sure.
to get one of these box sets. So, and if you're lucky, you might be able to get them for like $3 or $4. And if that's the case, it's a steal at that price.
Yeah, for sure. They're worth spending time watching. Not with kids, obviously. Do not watch these with children.
No.
Think before watching with a spouse because of some of the content in them. But
yeah, but you know what? If your spouse is awesome like yours, then it's fine.
Yeah, Darlene and I just laugh at these kinds of things. But then again, we love the Andy Sedaris films, and there's nudity aplenty in those.
Exactly. So basically, the what I take away from this is find yourself an awesome spouse.
Yeah.
So you can watch anything.
For sure. Darlene is glaring at me from across the room. Oh no, you're not glaring. Okay. Well, anyway.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's probably going to do it for this episode. What do we have coming next? There's a bunch of different things. Not sure yet, but we're probably going to be dipping our toes back into exploitation before too long. That's for sure.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
All right. And so for This Week in Geeks Loose Cannon, we have been...
I'm Aaron Pollyea.
And Alex, the producer. We'll be back next time with more, I guess, over-the-top crazy action.
Are either one of these any good? Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Quick, change the channel!
You're wasting your life making shit! Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership. We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.